What if the ground beneath your feet was a lie? What if the very fabric of reality was woven with secrets older than humanity itself? As I stood at the precipice of the unknown, I could not shake the feeling that we were about to uncover truths that could alter the course of our existence. My name is Tarek Vallis, and I am part of the team led by Dr. Evan Kale, a renowned geologist and astrobiologist whose obsession with extraterrestrial life brought us deep into the heart of the boreal forest on New Terra. New Terra, a planet that has only recently been embraced by humanity, was a world of wonders and dangers, a place where the echoes of an ancient past whispered through the rustling leaves. We had been dispatched by the Proteus Initiative, a shadowy organization with a mission shrouded in secrecy to investigate a peculiar gravitational anomaly detected miles beneath the dense foliage of the forest. What lay beneath the surface was a mystery that we were determined to unravel, but no one could prepare us for what we would discover. As we trekked through the undergrowth, the air was thick with moisture, the scent of earth and decay, a constant reminder of the cycle of life and death that persisted in this untamed wilderness. The trees towered above us like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches twisting and turning as if attempting to shield us from the truths buried deep within the soil. I could feel a latent energy pulsating through the air, a sensation that sent chills down my spine. When we finally arrived at the site of the anomaly, a shiver of anticipation coursed through my veins. There, half buried in the ground, was a colossal structure, its surface etched with symbols and designs I had never seen before. It was as if the very architecture was alive, calling out to us in a language older than time. The team gathered around, our flashlights cutting through the darkness, illuminating the forgotten relic of a civilization that had long since vanished, or so we thought. As we entered the structure, the air shifted. It felt charged, electric. Then, without warning, we stumbled upon an artifact, a pulsing orb that seemed to resonate with an otherworldly light. The moment we approached, the air around us crackled, and I felt a surge of energy that swept through, my mind igniting a torrent of images and emotions. It was then that I realized we were not alone. The artifact was communicating, transmitting messages directly into our consciousness in a language that transcended speech. I could feel the weight of its purpose pressing down on me, a haunting melody that echoed the lost voices of an ancient race. But it was more than just the thrill of discovery. It was a reminder of my past. I had lost my sister in a tragic accident years ago, an event that haunted my every step. The fear of losing loved ones had driven me into the arms of exploration, seeking answers to questions I had never dared to voice. As the images flooded my mind, I sensed a connection, a profound bond that reached across time and space. Yet with this revelation came an unsettling realization. As we began to decipher the messages, it became clear that the civilization we had unearthed was not extinct. They were lying in wait, their consciousness intertwined with the very essence of New Terra. And as my heart raced with the thrill of discovery, a shadow loomed over us. The alien inhabitants of this planet were awakening, and they viewed us, not as fellow beings, but as intruders in a world that was never ours. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As night enveloped the forest, shadows stretched and twisted, playing tricks on my mind. The air had grown thick with an unsettling quiet, the usual sounds of nocturnal life suppressed as if nature herself was holding her breath. My heart thundered in my chest, mirroring the pulsating energy of the artifact we had uncovered. I glanced at my team, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow of the orb. Fear and curiosity danced in their expressions, a reflection of my own inner turmoil. Dr. Evan Kale stood closest to the artifact, his eyes wide with wonder, but there was a flicker of something else, an obsession that I had seen before in those who chased the unknown. "We need to understand it," he muttered, almost to himself, brushing his fingers against the orb's surface as if he were trying to coax it into revealing its secrets. I knew that look too well. It was the same one I had worn when I first set out on this journey to escape my grief. But I also recognized the danger of such relentless pursuit. "Maybe we should take a step back," I suggested, my voice barely breaking the silence. "We don't know what this thing is capable of." The tension in the air thickened, and I could sense the growing rift between me and Evan. We had always shared a mutual respect, but now it felt as if we were standing on opposite sides of a chasm, each grappling with our own fears and desires. Cassandra, our communications expert, stepped forward. Her expression was resolute, but I could see the tremor in her hands. "Tarek's right, Evan. We need to assess the risks. If this is truly a remnant of an alien civilization, we may not be prepared for what it can do." She shot me a grateful glance, and I felt a flicker of solidarity amidst the rising tension. "Assess the risks?" Evan scoffed, turning to face us. "This is history. We could be on the brink of a discovery that changes everything we know about life beyond Earth." His voice crescendoed, and I could feel the pull of his excitement, but also the undercurrents of desperation. I wondered if he was trying to convince us or himself. As I stood there, caught between my loyalty to Evan and the gnawing instinct that something was terribly wrong, the orb began to pulse more rapidly. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through my bones and sending a shiver down my spine. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath us, and I staggered back, my heart racing as a blinding light erupted from the orb, enveloping the chamber. Then a chorus of voices filled my mind. It was a cacophony of emotions, a blend of fear, longing, and sorrow. I fell to my knees, clutching my head as the vision came crashing in waves. I saw glimpses of a vibrant civilization thriving amidst the flora of New Terra, only to witness their tragic downfall. Their cries echoed in my ears, each one piercing my heart like arrows. "Make it stop," I gasped, struggling against the overwhelming tide of sensations. I felt a hand on my shoulder, Cassandra, her face pale but determined. "Tarek, focus. We have to work together." But even as I struggled to regain my composure, the chamber quaked, and a fissure opened in the ground, revealing a network of shimmering roots that pulsed with an unnatural energy. I could see the outlines of forms shifting in the darkness beneath us, and my heart sank as I realized we were no longer just observers. We had become part of this unfolding mystery, and the deeper we went, the more dangerous it became. Evan's eyes gleamed with fervor, but I sensed his fear mounting, mirroring my own. "We need to leave, now!" I shouted, panic lacing my voice. But he was already moving closer to the fissure, drawn by an irresistible force. In that moment, I knew we were at a crossroads. The decisions we made next would define not just our fate, but the fate of everything we thought we understood about New Terra and its ancient denizens. With a final surge of adrenaline, I reached for Evan, but it was too late. The ground trembled again, and as the orb's light intensified, I could feel the world spiraling out of control. This was no longer just a scientific expedition. It was a battle for survival, and we were about to awaken forces we could barely begin to comprehend. The light from the orb washed over us, blinding and suffocating, and I felt myself slipping into a disorienting haze. Just as I thought I might lose my grip on reality, a piercing scream shattered the moment, reverberating through the chamber. It was Evan, his face contorted in shock as he stumbled back from the fissure. "Evan!" I shouted, but my voice sounded distant, swallowed by the chaos around us. The shimmering roots writhed like serpents, twisting and coiling as if they were alive. The voices in my mind intensified, merging into a single, haunting wail, a sound that held the weight of centuries. Suddenly, I was overwhelmed by a vision, not of the past, but of my own life, a vivid recollection of the day I had lost my sister. I saw her face, radiant and full of life, then the darkness that followed, the emptiness that consumed me. The grief had been a well I thought I had escaped, but it surged back, nearly drowning me as the orb pulsed with unrelenting force. My heart raced, not just with fear, but with the realization that this was no mere artifact. It was a mirror, reflecting my deepest traumas and regrets. "Focus, Tarek," Cassandra's voice broke through again, but this time it felt like a lifeline rather than a command. I looked at her, and I saw something in her eyes, a flicker of understanding, a shared pain. "We have to help Evan. He's losing it." But before I could respond, the ground beneath us quaked violently, and the fissure widened. From its depths emerged shadows, familiar yet foreign. I squinted, trying to make sense of the shapes, and my heart lurched. They were echoes of people. I had known shadows of my past, my sister, my mother, even friends I had lost along the way. Their faces were twisted in anguish, and I realized that they weren't just figments of my imagination. They were manifestations of my guilt and grief, pulled from the recesses of my mind by the orb's power. "Is this real?" I gasped, clutching my head as the memories threatened to engulf me. "Am I losing my mind?" "It's the artifact," Cassandra shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "It's amplifying our fears, our memories. We have to resist." But Evan was still drawn toward the fissure, his eyes glazed as if he were in a trance. "No, I have to understand," he cried. And in that moment, I saw the desperation in his eyes. He was not just chasing knowledge, he was seeking redemption for his own demons, whatever they may be. The tension mounted, and I felt the chasm between us widen. This was no longer just about an alien civilization. It was about confronting the shadows that haunted us all. The orb had become a nexus of our fears, illuminating truths we had buried deep within. "Evan, listen to me," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "If we don't leave now, we'll be consumed by this. You're not just risking your life, you're risking ours." The shadows flickered and writhed, and as I reached for him again, I realized with a sinking feeling that we might not be able to escape the past. The artifact was awakening something within us, something primal and terrifying. And the more we fought it, the more it threatened to unravel everything we thought we understood about ourselves. In that moment, I knew that our journey was far from over. We were on the brink of a revelation that could shatter our minds, and perhaps even the very fabric of our reality. The forest had become a battleground for our souls, and as we stood at the precipice, I wondered if we were brave enough to face what lay ahead. The shadows twisted around me, their forms shifting like smoke, each one a reminder of the faces I had lost, the moments I had failed to protect. I felt the weight of their sorrow pressing down, threatening to crush my spirit. "Evan!" I cried again, my voice raw with desperation. "You have to fight it. We can't let this thing take us." His gaze, once filled with curiosity, was now consumed by a storm of conflict. "Tarek, this is my chance to understand," he shouted back, the fissure's glow illuminating his features, revealing the torment etched into his expression. "I can't turn away from what I've done. I need answers." The orb pulsed violently, and I could feel its energy drawing Evan closer, like a moth to a flame. I stepped forward, my heart racing, ready to pull him away, but the ground shook again and I stumbled. I could see Cassandra trying to reach him too, her outstretched hand trembling with urgency. "Evan, don't let it take you," she yelled, her voice cutting through the haze, but the shadows shifted again, and I felt my own pain clawing at me. It was as if the orb was feeding on my fears, amplifying every moment of weakness, every regret I had tried to bury. I could see my sister's face among the shadows, her eyes full of disappointment. "You left me," she seemed to whisper, the words echoing in my mind. I shook my head, forcing myself to breathe through the suffocating dread. "Evan," I roared, my voice breaking through the cacophony of anguish. "If you go into that darkness, you'll be lost forever. We all will." I took a step closer, my own memories swirling around me, but I fought against them. I wouldn't let this artifact dictate my fate. And then, in that moment of despair, something shifted within me. I felt a spark of defiance ignite. "Evan, listen to me," I shouted again, my heart pounding with renewed determination. "This isn't just about your past. It's about all of us. Don't you see? We can't change what happened, but we can choose how we move forward." Cassandra's eyes locked onto mine, and I could see her understanding dawning. "Tarek, we need to pull him back together," she said, her voice steadier now. I nodded, my resolve solidifying. "Evan, we're in this together. You don't have to face your demons alone. We'll help you. We'll face them together." His expression faltered just for a moment, and I seized the opportunity. I lunged forward, reaching for him as the shadows writhed, desperate to reclaim him. "Trust us," I cried, grasping his arm with all the strength I had. As our eyes locked, I felt a surge of energy, an invisible tether binding our fates. The orb pulsed again, brighter and more furious, but I refused to let go. I pulled him back, and in that instant, I understood that we were battling not just the artifact, but the very essence of our fears and regrets. The fissure trembled, and I could feel the shadows recoiling as if they were threatened by our unity. But we had to push harder. The outcome of our struggle hung in the balance. The world around us was collapsing, and as the orb flashed one final time, I braced myself for whatever came next. Would we emerge whole, or would we be consumed by the darkness we had brought upon ourselves? The answer lay just beyond our grasp, teetering on the edge of oblivion. The moment I grasped Evan's arm, a shock wave of energy surged through me, and I felt the shadows recoil, their grip loosening ever so slightly. The orb pulsed with a blinding light, flooding the fissure and banishing the darkness that had threatened to consume us. In that instant, I knew we were winning, yet the victory felt bittersweet. As the light enveloped us, I glimpsed Evan's face, a mixture of fear and gratitude washing over him. I pulled him closer, feeling the warmth of his skin against mine, grounding me in this chaotic moment. But the shadows were relentless, swirling around us like a tempest, and I could hear their whispers mocking and taunting. "You think you can escape?" they hissed. But I gritted my teeth, determined to hold on. With a final surge of strength, we stumbled backward, the orb's light erupting in a brilliant flash. I felt the ground beneath us shift, the fissure's edges crumbling away in a cascade of stones and darkness. But we were alive. We had escaped. As the light faded, I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. The air was thick with a palpable tension, and I could see Cassandra kneeling nearby, her eyes wide with disbelief. "We did it," she breathed, relief washing over her features. But as I looked around, I realized that while we had survived, the scars of our confrontation were etched deeply into our beings. Evan, still shaken, sat on the ground beside me, his gaze unfocused. "What just happened?" he murmured, the weight of his past heavy in his voice. I could see the remnants of the shadows lingering in his eyes, a haunting reminder of the torment he had faced. I felt them, the regrets, the fears. "They're still with me," I reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone, Evan. We'll face this together, one step at a time." Cassandra nodded, her voice steady. "But we need to understand what that orb was. There's more to it than just shadows. We've only scratched the surface." As I sat there, I felt the coolness of the ground beneath me, but the chill in my heart was far worse. I had faced my fears, yet the echoes of my sister's disappointment still lingered, a ghost that would not easily fade. "Look," Evan suddenly gasped, pointing to where the orb had been. A faint shimmer remained, pulsating like a heartbeat. It was as if the artifact was alive, whispering secrets just beyond our reach. "What does it mean?" I asked, my pulse quickening. Cassandra narrowed, her eyes studying the shimmer. "It means there's more to discover, more shadows to confront." And then I saw it, a fleeting image in the shimmer, a face I thought I had lost forever. My heart raced as the realization hit me. This wasn't over. "Guys, we need to figure this out," I said, my voice steadier now. "We can't walk away from this. Not yet." Evan stood, a newfound determination in his eyes. If we're going to face whatever this is, we have to do it together, no more running. As we gathered ourselves, I could feel a new sense of purpose igniting within me. The shadows might have retreated for now, but I knew they would return. And when they did, we would be ready. The fissure, once a source of terror, now felt like a portal to new mysteries, each tinged with the potential for redemption. Together we would delve deeper into the unknown, for our journey had only just begun. As we stood there, the shimmering orb pulsing at our feet, a chilling realization washed over me. I had felt its power coursing through me, and with it, a haunting whisper beckoned. You can escape, but at a cost. The shadows, though temporarily banished, lingered in the corners of my mind, taunting me with the price of freedom. Guys, I said, my heart racing, what if we could use the orb to break free from all of this, to leave behind the darkness, and go back to our lives? Cassandra's eyes narrowed, her brow furrowing with concern. But what would that mean for the people still trapped in the shadows? We can't just abandon them. Evan, lost in contemplation, began to shake his head. If we use the orb, it might mean leaving behind everything we fought for. The consequences could be catastrophic. Yet, as the orb pulsed, I could feel its allure wrapping around my heart. The possibility of liberation was intoxicating, and the thought of escaping my sister's disappointment felt like a breath of fresh air. But at what cost? I could almost hear the voices of those lost in darkness, pleading for help. I took a step toward the orb, my hand trembling. What if we could save ourselves and still find a way to help them? We could figure it out, but deep down I knew that the orb's power wouldn't come without sacrifice. The shadows were relentless, and freedom often demanded a price too steep to pay. As I reached for the orb, I hesitated, torn between my desire for liberation and the potential devastation of others. Would I make the choice that could tear apart the very fabric of our world, leaving countless souls in eternal torment? I could feel the darkness pulling at me, whispering promises of escape that were too tempting to ignore. Choose wisely, it taunted, as I stood on the precipice of a decision that would define us. In that moment I realized freedom could be as much a prison as the shadows themselves. With a heavy heart, I withdrew my hand, the orb's light dimming in response. No, I won't do it. We'll find another way. But the shadows stirred, their whispers growing louder, their presence more sinister. As we turned away from the orb, I felt the weight of my choice, knowing that the path ahead would be fraught with danger, that the shadows still hungered for our souls. And in that uncertainty, I felt something deeper, the bond of friendship forged in battle. We may have chosen to face the darkness together, but the shadows were not done with us yet. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. And leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.